Hello everyone, welcome to Technologies Discussion channel. Today, I'd like to continue the discussion on amplifier. For this video, I'm going to explain how a Class A amplifier actually works. I'm also going to explain why Class A amplifier is the most lenient. However, it also is the least efficient amplifier. So this will be the two objectives of this video. This will be the part 2A series discussion on amplifier. The rest of the video, I have put the playlist under the description. So if you're keen to know more about amplifier, please take a look on the playlist. Over there, you will find a series of discussion on amplifier. The reason why I actually denote this as part 2A is because I'm going to have part 2B to further explain the Class A amplifier. This is my email. If you have any question regards on today's discussion, please drop me an email. Before I continue, I'd like to urge you guys to support this channel by pressing the like and also the subscribe button. Please also turn on your notification bell in order to receive more information from this channel. Guys, again, feel free to give me comment, also suggestion on the topic, so that the quality of this channel can be further improved. Once again, thank you so much for strong support. Okay, let's quickly understand what is actually a Class A amplifier, which I have explained on my part 1 series. Let's go a little bit more detail for this discussion. For Class A, is actually defined as an amplifier that is biased so that the output current flow at all times. Let's take a look on this Class A amplifier. You can see that the input is actually fed at the base. The output is actually at the collector. You can see over here, with or without the signal at the base, the current of the collector will still flow. And over here, it means that this is going to be the least efficient, because if let's say I don't have any input signal, the output will still have power consumption, and because of this, Class A typically is not that efficient. So basically, this further explains why Class A is not efficient. And next, I'm going to explain about linear. Okay, the input signal is kept small to prevent driving the transistor into cut off. The conduction angle of the transistor is 360 degrees, meaning that the transistor conducts for the full cycle of the input signal. Okay, so over here, you can find that this Class A is the most linear because the conduction angle happened at 360 degrees. The meaning of linear, okay, means that how close the output will be with the input. Okay, for Class A, basically the waveform is almost the same from the input to the output, except the amplitude actually drastically amplified by the signal. Therefore, for Class A amplifier, the amplitude change, but the rest, like for example, the shape of the signal remain intact. And hence, because of this, Class A is the most linear, but as I explained earlier on, it's also the most less efficient. Okay, typically, they can be less than 50%. Okay, as I mentioned earlier on, with or without any input signal, the VCC still provide the current to drive the transistor. And hence, because of this, it become very less than desired efficient for Class A amplifier. Let's go a little bit more detail to explain Class A amplifier. Okay, Class A amplifier is a common emitter. Okay, so basically this is the Class A amplifier. How can I tell it's a common emitter? Okay, before you can identify common emitter, you need to identify the input and also the output. Okay, over here you can see that this will be the input. So you know that the input is actually applied at the base. You can see that the output is basically tapped at the collector. So from here, I know my input, I know my output. What left will be the ground, which is also the common emitter. And hence from here, I have also discuss how can I actually know that this transistor is actually a common emitter, as the input is at the base and the output is at the collector, and hence from here, I conclude that this is actually a common emitter. Next, okay, there are actually two types of input signal. Okay, number one, okay, so it will be the AC input signal. Number two, okay, this will be the DC input signal. So basically, these two signal is actually applied to bias this transistor, which I will further explain later on. The purpose of this amplifier is to amplify the AC input base. Okay, so as I mentioned here, so basically this will be the input signal. The amplifier mainly is to boost up the signal. Okay, this is achieved by biasing the base of the transistor with the help of R1 and R2. So basically this R1 and R2 and also RE, they basically form the voltage divider. And basically this actually help to bias the transistor. The coupling capacitor, okay, so we need to have a capacitor over here, okay, which is also known as coupling capacitor. Okay, it ensures that the internal resistor of the AC input generator does not affect the DC bias of the transistor circuit. It becomes possible as coupling capacitor actually block DC and pass AC. Okay, so I have made this available for discussion here. Okay, so basically this will be the impedance for the capacitor. Okay, you can see from here, if under DC, the F will be small, the frequency will be small. And when it's actually small, okay, which means that 1 divided by a very small number, okay, my impedance will be a very big number. So as I mentioned over here, it will become a very big number. When my frequency actually is an AC source, which means that it's quite a decent number or consider a very big number. And when this thing is big, okay, you can see that this XC will become a small number because overall this number will be big. 1 divided by a big number, the overall number will be small. While under the DC is basically 1 over a very small number here. Okay, once 1 over a very small number, this XC will become a big number. So from here, you can see that when they are actually at DC, okay, they actually block because this impedance, okay, basically become very big and basically all the DC source will not be able to pass through this capacitor. Hence, it's called that they actually block the DC. Okay, so while for AC, you can see that basically this impedance become very small. It almost become like a short circuit. Everything will be able to pass. So therefore, for AC, it will be able to pass all the AC. Next, let's come to the bypass capacitor. Okay, so the bypass capacitor actually provide a very low impedance path for AC signal. Okay, so which means that it's the same effect here. Under the AC, okay, basically this path will be very small. Okay, so earlier on, I have also explained on a capacitor. Under the AC, this will become very small. This become a low impedance path for AC signal, okay, in between the emitter and ground of the circuit. Okay, it hold the emitter at a constant voltage value. Okay, when I actually put this capacitor, it actually hold this total emitter value at a very constant voltage value. Okay, thus all the variation in base voltage cause directly vary in dBe across base emitter junction of the transistor. Okay, so basically this is the role of a bypass capacitor. In short, this path here, they actually provide a very low impedance for the AC signal. Okay, for the AC signal here. So basically with this, it actually hold the emitter at a constant voltage value. Basically, this emitter here, they will be holding at a constant value because this is actually a very short path over here. Okay, thus any variation in the base voltage cause, okay, is going to be direct variation in dBe. Okay, so let me explain this in another form here. Okay, so for this now, I'm going to explain this will be the input signal, how I actually get the output signal that look like this. Okay, firstly, okay, let's consider the first consideration. Let's consider the positive half cycle of the input. Okay, so let's consider this positive cycle here. Okay, the half cycle of the input signal here. So let's understand this part here. So this is actually what we learned from this transistor here. Okay, this IC, which is the collector current, basically is equals to the beta IB, which is the base current. Okay, so from here you can see that basically this is actually called the current gain. Okay, you can see that this will be the input, this will be at the output. So the output actually has a gain, okay, which is the beta, which is denoted as the current gain. So basically, this is how the signal actually amplified. Is basically provided by the beta. Okay, let's take a closer look on this here. Okay, so when my IB, okay, because it's a positive life cycle, okay, so what happened here is basically as a positive, my IB will be increased. This is actually a voltage source. Imagine that when the voltage source actually increase, okay, at a positive cycle, I actually will have more IB. And when I actually has more IB, based on this equation, I also know that my collector current will also increase. One assumption that I want to make is basically, I just want to assume that IC, okay, current at the collector and also current at the emitter, they are almost the same. Or maybe in the actual fact, it's actually I can't remember it's IC equals to alpha IE or vice versa. But in reality, we can always assume that the current at the collector and also the current at the emitter, they are almost the same. So let's make this assumption. Okay, so once I make this assumption, okay, you can close the loop here. Okay, I want to find my voltage across the C and also the E. So how can I find the voltage over here? I can take this VCC minus the voltage that fall across the RL and also the voltage that fall across the RE, which I have mentioned over here. Earlier on, I have mentioned that IC actually increased. So what happened here is basically VCC is always a constant source. For example, it can be 9 volt. So it will be still 9 volt. And wow, this IC actually increased. From this equation, if this increase, you can see that my VC actually reduced. And therefore, from here, I conclude that when it's a positive half cycle of the input, at the output is actually a negative half cycle. So basically, this is how I know that this will be inverted. Next, let's move on to my second consideration, which is the negative half cycle of the input. Earlier on, I have done the positive half cycle. So now I would like to do the negative half cycle of the input. It's the same rules here. Basically, this will be the rule for the transistor, okay, which I have explained. This time round, because this is negative, so therefore the current at the base actually will be reduced. And from this equation, when the current at the base reduced, I know that the current at the collector also will be reduced. And from here again, it will be the same set of formula. If I want to find my voltage VCE, I need to use VCC minus the voltage drop at RL and also the voltage drop at RE. So from here, okay, because as I have mentioned, VCC is always constant. Okay, this IC this time round, they actually drop. So when this thing actually drop, I know that my VCE actually increase. And hence, at the negative half cycle of the input, I know that at the output will be a positive half cycle. So therefore, from here, you can see that the input signal actually will be inverted at the output. Okay, so basically this will be the explanation for Class A amplifier. Let me do a very quick conclusion on Class A amplifier. The most commonly used power amplifier is the Class A amplifier. Class A amplifier is the simplest form of power amplifier that use a single switching transistor. As you can see earlier on, I only have one single transistor. So this is what it means. So Class A amplifier, okay, they are the simplest form of power amplifier because they just need a single switching transistor in the common emitter configuration to provide an inverted output. The transistor is always biased on. Okay, with or without the signal, the transistor is always on because DCC will provide the current at the collector so that it conducts during one complete cycle of the input waveform, producing minimum distortion and maximum amplitude of the output signal. This is what I have mentioned earlier on, okay, because they conducted 360 degrees and hence they have the minimum distortion, okay, which means that they are the most linear amplifier as compared to class B and class C. Okay, this means that the class A amplifier configuration is the ideal operating mode because there can be no crossover or switch off distortion to the output waveform even during the negative half of the cycle. Okay, so with this, I hope you have a better idea on class A amplifier. Class A amplifier is the most linear but has the least in terms of power efficiency. With this, I'd like to end my discussion. Please help to like and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for your strong support. See you guys soon. Bye for now.